we're gonna hop into the big Netflix movie of the weekend, or this past weekend. It actually came out, I think, the day after we recorded last episode. So this is Bad Education, directed by Corey Finley and written by Mike Wachowski. The film takes place.
Quick, HBO, right?
Yes, HBO.
Sorry, you said Netflix. I wanted to make sure.
Did I say Netflix?
You did.
All right. Rewind it. All right. Bad Education, newest HBO movie. First one that they put out in a while, if we're really talking, that wasn't, documentary-esque. So this is directed by Corey Finley, written by Mike Wachowski. The film takes place in a small Long Island town called Roslyn, and it tells the story of Dr. Frank Tassone and Pam Gluckin, who both work for a public school district that they aim to make the best in the country. And honestly, throughout most of the movie, they are that. They are killing it. Their students are getting into these high-profile Ivy League schools, and they're so proud of themselves, and all the kids love Frank and Pam, and everybody just likes to be in their presence. And then after a young high school student who works for the school newspaper begins to do a deep dive into the school's finances, she makes a shocking discovery that could potentially end both of their careers, Tassone and Gluckin's careers, I mean. Now, this movie is based on a true story. In fact, I didn't know this until I looked it up. It's actually the same school that the writer Mike Wachowski went to, and he actually met Tassone as a child, before the actual scandal broke out. So going into this movie, I really didn't see a trailer for it. I remember seeing the single image of all the teachers surrounding Hugh Jackman, who just looks completely stressed out. And I just thought, okay, this is gonna be kind of cool. And I knew it was about a financial scandal within a school. That was about it. So I was curious to see how exactly they would handle the story, and they do it in a very interesting way. So basically, the first 30 minutes of the movie, you're just kind of getting to know everybody, and chess pieces are being moved throughout the first 30 minutes. Like, for example, you meet Tassone, Hugh Jackman's character, and he's just the most likable guy ever. Everybody loves him. Everybody's talking about him. He goes to parents' houses, and he'll run a book club. And, you get the sense that none of the women in the book club are really into the book that they're talking about. It's like a Charles Dickens book. I can't remember which one. But they go just because they think he's hot. And then, all the students, like, he remembers every student's name. Like, he'll even test himself with Pam's, they'll be in the office, and she'll be like, okay, who's this guy? He's like, his brother's this person, yada, yada. Or like, oh, okay, who's this person? His dad works for this company, and blah, 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 blah. So you can tell that he really cares about these students and really just wants what's best for them. And then, once this character comes in, I can't remember the actual character's name, but she's played by Geraldine Viswanathan, who many might recognize from Blockers. Actually, it's John Cena's daughter in Blockers, who is fantastic in this movie, by the way. Once her character comes in, and she seems completely innocent, and honestly, she is innocent throughout this entire movie, but she seems like she's just looking in this like a little interesting story, just curious about, how exactly the school works. That's when you start to see the characters switch. And at this point, that's when I noticed that this was like the 40-minute mark of the movie. So at this point, the 40-minute mark, like, you already like everybody, and then suddenly you're like, oh god, they're all about to take a heel turn.
Wrestling reference, nice.
100%. So, yeah, like, at this point in the movie, everybody, the shadiness of everyone starts coming out. And it's, like, subtly done throughout, the rest of the story, I guess the next hour of the story. But further and further as it goes along, you start to see the conniving side of each person working in the school who's involved with this thing. And also how this... It's almost like the show up and dance thing of Black Mirror. It's like my favorite episode of Black Mirror, of how you follow these characters for so long and you really like them and you really want what's best for them, and then one thing gets brought up and you're like, oh, everybody in this movie sucks. Or everybody involved with this thing sucks. And that comes down to the writing of the characters. They make them very human, and I guess that comes down to the fact that it's based on a true story, but Hugh Jackman plays it so well. For one, he's Hugh Jackman, so you automatically want to like him. And when you start seeing this, like, darker side of him, or this, this side that you weren't exactly expecting to come out throughout this point in the movie, It's shocking, but at the same time, it's like it's conflicting with you because deep down you can tell that he's not really 100% this way, but he just has to be this way because of everything that's going down. I'm trying to be pretty vague because I think like going in blind for this movie is pretty good. Janie, I think it's Allison Janney, so she does have that like snarkiness to her that she kills and does so well with, and I think both of them have a good chance. I don't know how exactly this movie's gonna work in terms of like streaming and Oscar nominations, but they both have nominations at least for Emmys coming their way and Golden Globes because they killed it. But Allison Janney is kind of the patient zero of this whole thing of like how everything starts going wrong just because of one mistake, a handful of mistakes that somebody in her family makes that pretty much lays all the cards out on the table. This movie is one. I think especially after the big college scandal that just recently happened, it's kind of the perfect movie. It was the perfect time for this movie to come out, but it's the perfect movie to see that like the school systems are really messed up, dude. Like if we do a really good job looking the other way and letting people get away with everything just because they are either likable or it's because it's focused on like the school systems that nobody really cares. They're like, yeah, let the teachers do whatever they want. But
I know they let them assign us homework on the weekends.
I know, right? Tragic.
What's with that?
Whose idea was that, Mr. President? No, I'm kidding. But no, I think this movie does a really good job at adding a human element to it. And while you don't necessarily think all these people are bad people, they did do a bad thing, and they had to pay for that crime. So I think what HBO did here, and if anything, I think what Mike Wachowski did with his writing and Corey Finley with his directing, and I think this Corey Finley's maybe not his first time, but he's a very new director, and I think he absolutely shows a sort of gravitas when it comes to being behind the camera. I think it's incredibly well directed. And like I said, with Mike Wachowski's writing, I think the way that he evolves the characters over the course of the hour and a half that this movie takes place is really talented and really throws you for a loop. Also, if I'm going to shout out a few other people, I think Ray Romano kills it in this. I really like this Ray Romano renaissance that we have going on. Like ever since like The Big Sick, he's been showing up in a lot of really good stuff. As well as Alex Wolff. Alex Wolff is kind of briefly in this, but he just kind of proves that you can be a Nickelodeon child star and have a really good career afterwards. So, yeah, I really dig this movie. I think it's one of the best. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen that many HBO movies coming out, so I think it's one of the best ones I've ever seen. I found it incredibly entertaining and an incredibly riveting story, and it's also pretty funny. Like, I think it's listed as a comedy drama, and I think it's more on the drama side, but there are just little things that are kind of hilarious within this movie. If anything, the whole scenario is pretty funny too. So I really enjoyed this.
What are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.